How to behave on a first date. Hello guys, in this video I want to talk about the general rules for a first date. The first date determines how you fare with the person later. The outcome, which decides whether there is a second date or not, makes people neurotic. From where to what to wear, everyone wants their bases covered. However, all those areas only lend to about a 40% success rate. The rest depends on your behavior during the date itself. So, understanding how to behave on a first date to make a good impression is the question we answer. Be yourself. It may sound overly used and cliched, but being yourself is probably the summary of all the tips to follow. As mentioned, the nerve-wracking preparation for a first date gives a tendency for people to overdo things in order to make a good impression. And this often leads to things getting awkward during the actual date because people put up an act that doesn't fit their usual self. Calm down. You are not on trial, in an interview, nor asking her hand in marriage. Again, overthinking only leads you to screw up. So calm down and let things run their natural course. This way, you find your groove and focus on the actual moment, not on what the other person might think of every move you make. Leave ulterior motives at home. Even if you think you can bag it on the first date, it will be better for you to leave those thoughts for a later time. Use the first date to establish a good impression, and most of all, have a good time with them. After all, it is not wise to gamble all of your chips in the opening hand. Be on time. Being late even with a valid excuse gives the impression that you don't value the time the other person allotted for that date. Arrive on time, or better yet, a few minutes earlier. For guys, be a gentleman. Being a gentleman never gets old and the ladies appreciate the display of chivalry. You know how it works, opening the door for her, pulling out a chair, taking her coat, and getting her a cab if you can't walk or drive her home. Be attentive to your date. This means being sensitive if they are comfortable with the location, the food, and the topics you converse about. You don't need to ask your date if they're okay every minute, but it's about taking in non-verbal cues that suggest if she's bored or uncomfortable. Being attentive also calls for you to not let yourself be distracted by other things in the environment which give the impression that you're not interested in your date. Keep the touches friendly and casual. Though not forbidden to touch on the first date, it is advisable that these touches lean towards the friendly and harmless side. A friendly tap on the shoulder or a touch of the arm for reassurance, but nothing more. Wait for your date to take the touching up to the next level before you respond in kind. Use your sense of humor. The best way to make the date memorable and enjoyable is by filling it with laughter. If you consider yourself the comedian, then use the moment to charm your date with your sense of humor. Girls in particular are endeared to a guy with a good sense of humor. Guys, on the other hand, also think a funny lady is a sexy lady. One word of advice: keep the jokes smart and appropriate. Don't hog the conversation. Don't get overexcited and start machine gunning your date with questions making the topic transition uncomfortably fast. Try to stick to one topic until you fully exhaust it before you shift to another, and make sure you let your date finish speaking before you open your mouth. Don't drink too much. First dates more or less involve alcohol, but that doesn't mean that you should imbibe more than you can handle. Not only that being dead drunk makes you incapable of proper conversation, it also leads you to acts that may or may not land you into prison. Keep the conversation lighthearted. When it comes to knowing how to behave on a first date, you should remember that a first date is not really a moment to discuss seriously depressing things like death, poverty, war, and the like. Keep it light and casual. Work your way to securing the second or third dates before discussing your interest in the woes of the world. Do not talk about past relationships. Common sense tells us that this is one of the big conversation no-nos on first dates. If you talk about a past relationship, it gives your date the idea that you look for a rebound, and leaves them not so keen for further dates. Keep sex out of the conversation. Bringing up sex in a first date conversation is like plopping a dead pig's head on the table in a family dinner. It only accomplishes giving you unfavorable attention and may cause your date to be wary of you. A little naughty joke would be fine, but outright prying of your date's sex life is a mortal sin. Thank you for watching, guys. Do not forget to subscribe and like this video.